What's up, everyone? We've got a special guest for you today. We've got Raptors' very own Jontay Porter. Jontay, thank you so much for joining me on my channel here. How are you doing today?
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I'm doing real well. Just finished practice and ready for a great little interview.
Absolutely. Once again, I'm very excited to do this, and we're going to jump right into the questions. So, Jontay, obviously, your journey to the NBA has been very unique. Do you want to go through some of the challenges and what really helped you? You've spoken obviously about your brother Michael, who's really been a key part of you getting back into basketball and just pushing through some of the injuries you've had. For those who may not be very familiar, do you want to tell them your side of the story and how kind of he's helped you along the way and how have you been able to push through that?
Sure, yeah. I come from a big family. There's 8 kids in our family, all from the same parents. My parents homeschooled us as well. They met through basketball, my parents did, and they've kind of groomed us, for better or worse, into basketball players. So we've all had our own individual struggles and challenges throughout our careers. All of us have played at D1 level and everything. So we all know what it's like to play at a pretty high level. And that creates a really unique sense of security with your, I guess, support system. I have a great support system, not only my brother, but the rest of my family. My brother, in particular, Michael, he plays for the Nuggets. He's my older brother by a year and a half. And that's who I would say I'm closest with. He's kind of been there, done that all the year and a half before I am there and do that. So my own personal challenges with injuries started. I mean, I've been pretty healthy my whole career until after my freshman year of college. I declared for the draft, as well as my brother did. We were in the same class, and he decided to stick in the draft. I decided I was going to go back to school, try to raise my stock a little bit, and work on some things that teams were giving me feedback on. And yeah, I was feeling really good. Had a great summer with Mizzou, and going into I think like 2 weeks before our first game, we had an exhibition match against Southern Illinois, and the game, like once we were doing script stuff, I blew out my knee in a move I've done a million times. It's kind of like a Euro step, and my knee kind of just collapsed inwards. Felt everything tear in that moment. Super duper painful. And more so painful was just the emotional damage with that. Something that I've been doing with all my siblings, with my whole family, my whole life up to that point, every single day, pretty much, just being taken away from me in that moment, and something that I do routinely. It's just a regular basketball move. It wasn't contact or anything. It was just really devastating for me, and I wasn't sure how I was going to move forward from that, just because I wasn't used. Like I said, I was relatively healthy up until that point, and having something like that that's so important to me to realize my dream of playing in the NBA in a year or so was really, really devastating. It was kind of like a gut check where I had to realize, or I had to kind of self-examine what was most important to me in life, and not put all my stock in something that can be ripped away in that moment. So as devastating as it was, I think it was the most character development I've had in my life. I had to grow up really quick. I realized everything wasn't always going to go according to plan A, and with that, there was restless nights. There was times where I doubted my recovery process, even though I was determined to get back on the court. There's times you want to quit, is because rehab is just grueling. That's where my brother played a huge part. He had his own injuries going into the draft with the back surgeries. He went from consensus number one pick in high school to being a dropping down to 14, I believe, from the Nuggets,
Yeah.
just because people were scared of injury history. So yeah, he was awesome along the way, just being encouraging. Even though he had gone through his surgeries, he was back to playing, and he just kept reminding me how special I was, how talented I was, and wanted me to kind of use the gifts God has given me to get on that level with him as well. So, and that's pretty much a long story short. There's other challenges that went along the way. I tore my knee again a few months into rehab, and that was like a double. So there's lots of challenges along the way that kind of made me who I am today. I had another surgery a few months into rehab that was really kind of like a double blow. But long story short, my support system, and my determination kind of have gotten me back to this point years later, playing in the NBA. It's just a dream come true, and I'm not taking one moment for granted.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was reading about how you've gone through some of your injuries, and obviously Michael's been a big part, but also yourself to be able to push through some of that has been absolutely amazing, and also I think inspiring. Right, NBA people forget is one of the most difficult leagues to make it into, and the fact that you have is truly amazing. Now let's get on to some of the other questions. Where were you when the Raptors called you? and you officially found out that you were getting signed to a two-way contract?
I was really packing my bag for this like 6 hour road trip from Detroit to Chicago. We had a G League game in Chicago, and yeah, my wife, she was running across the street to get me a smoothie from this place, my favorite place. And so I got the call from my agent, who's based out of Chicago. We
All
were
right.
going to be grabbing dinner that night, and he was like, "Sorry, man, I'm not going to be able to hang out. I'm really bummed about it, but I have other news." And he let me kind of like dropped it that way. So it was really awesome, man, to see all my hard work kind of manifest itself into an opportunity. And it was really cool to, once my wife got back, to be able to surprise her with that. And yeah, it definitely wasn't expected. I didn't like it wasn't a long-term process where my agent's like, "Hey, Toronto's really interested." It just happened. And yeah, a month later, here I am starting last night against the Celtics. It's just like a dream come true, man. And I'm loving every moment of it.
Absolutely. No, I remember when the Raptors announced they signed you to a two-way contract. I went and watched some of your highlights, and I was looking at the skill set you have, and it's very unique for a big man. You know, obviously we've seen the NBA change kind of over the years and how centers are expected to space the floor a little bit more. Obviously, you have that to your game, but there are other parts of your game that are very intriguing as well. I find you're a great passer. You're able to defend very well. Now, I've got a question for you. Who have you? Is there a certain player you've modeled your game after? Have you kind of taken bits and parts of different players you've kind of looked up to and kind of modeled your game after them?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I've grown up, I admired different players. I was always a big LeBron guy, like loved watching LeBron. Obviously, I couldn't have a different game from LeBron if I tried. Like everything about our games are different. But with that came watching his teammates, and I really grew to admire the superstar role players that were on his side. With Kevin Love, like, outlet passes, rebounding, being able to stretch the floor. Originally, I was a big Chris Bosh guy. I got that a lot just because we were lefties, which,
Yeah.
for better or worse, that's just how it is with people online. But Chris Bosh, elements of his game, I really tried to take into mine. And then recently, just over the past few years, just getting to watch Nikola Jokic up close. I didn't mention this earlier, but part of my rehab process, I lived out in Denver with my brother during
Mhm.
his rookie and second year. So getting to watch Jokic up close, it's just different, man. And if I'm ever 1% of the player he is, then I will be happy with, my development. But with that, I just try to look at his game and see what little things I can model after my own, whether it's passing or dribbling, just like facilitating, being the hub of an offense. I'm not sure what my role will be or what it will turn into with the Raptors, but anything you can do like Jokic is probably a good thing to help your team get some wins. And that's something I've really admired over the past few years, and I'm probably going to continue to do so.
Absolutely. No, it shows like obviously, you're Jokic is the MVP and it would be great if you're able to get there, but some of the skill sets are very similar in how you're able to and like even some of the passes you make, right? Like I see Raptors fans all the time talking about how you're able to affect the games in so many different ways. Even if your shot isn't falling or one thing isn't going, you've got three other factors going for you. So I've got another question for you. The Raptors actually, I found this as I was reading the article yesterday that they actually had talked to you way back when you were, I believe, close to the draft process. They did contact you in 2019.
Mhm. Yeah, that was during the draft process. Both times, I believe. The first time when I went to the combine and ended up going back to Mizzou, as well as the next year when I was hurt, but still went through the interview process. I believe I talked to the Raptors both times, and they were really interested. Then they kind of, envisioned me on their team and kind of walked me through that. And who knows what would have happened if I had declared for the draft for my freshman year, and who knows what would have happened if I stayed healthy and got drafted for my second year. But everything happens for a reason, and I'm here now, and I couldn't be happier. And hopefully, with more opportunity, I'm able to impact winning on the grand scheme of things, both this year and moving forward.
Absolutely. All right, let's end this interview off with a few fun questions here. What is your favorite thing about Toronto so far? It can't be the weather. I know that for sure.
I'm actually staying out here in Mississauga, and we're like right next door to Square One, which is like the most fantastic, biggest mall I've ever been around. So everything you need is right here. That's probably my favorite thing so far. Although I will say, like, even though I've been here almost I've been over 90% of it. So any and all suggestions for cool things to do or cool things to see around here, I'm all ears.
Hey, I'm from Western Canada, so I've actually only been to Toronto once, but it's definitely a cool city to visit. And do you have a go-to spot? I know again you said that you've only been here for a little while, but do you have a go-to spot to go to?
Yeah, it's funny. So I drive a Tesla, and meaning you have to charge your car pretty frequently. The closest charger to us is by this Shareway Mall, which is about 15 minutes away, and there's a restaurant called Joey Shareway, and that's a restaurant. My wife is from Seattle, Washington, and that was our favorite restaurant there. And luckily, they have one here. So it's a little slice of home that we go to pretty frequently whenever we need to charge the car. We'll just grab a bite to eat at Joey's, and really good food, really good vibes, and that's definitely my go-to spot.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. I'm sure a lot of Raptors fans will say that in the comment section as well. Just one last question before we end the video here. Obviously, you've traveled to different cities. Do you have a favorite city in North America that you like to play in a specific arena or a specific NBA team? Obviously, your brother does play for the Denver Nuggets as well. I'm sure that's very fun for you when you guys faced off when you were with Memphis. But is there a specific city or team that you really look forward to
Yeah.
playing?
Yeah, I guess team, obviously that's the textbook answer is my brother's team. Getting to play with him, doing jersey exchanges, all that is always so much fun, and that was our dream growing up. Hopefully one day we can team up. But in terms of city, I think LA was awesome. Getting to play with the Raptors on this last road trip, being in LA for a few days, the weather you can't beat. Historic arena, even though they changed the name to Crypto.com arena or whatever. But yeah, man, the vibes are always awesome. I told you I was a big LeBron guy growing up, so getting to face off against him and other people is just it feels like every day I've been here with the Raptors has been something new that's eye opening and just a lifelong dream that's kind of being realized. And it's been really special, and I'm not taking a day for granted. So
Well,
with that, every team I go to play with is a cool opportunity, and I'm just soaking it all in.
absolutely. I imagine it must be a great opportunity. And Jonty, I couldn't be happier for a nicer person and a more humble human being for you. I kind of followed how you were performing in the G League, and I was telling everyone, I said, watch out for Jonte. He should absolutely be on the Raptors. And your skill sets is just amazing that you're able to do so many different things. So, Jonte, I want to thank you one more time for doing this interview. It's really nice of you to come on this channel and do this for me. Any last words before we depart here?
No, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you for being kind of a day one fan since I signed here at the Raptors, and hopefully we can meet up and do something soon in person. So go
Absolutely.
Raps.
Absolutely. All right. That's it, guys. Jonte, thank you once again for doing this. That will be it for today's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day.
Take care.